What's up, MMA fans? Make sure to subscribe on the way in. Today, we are going to do a countdown of the top 5 MMA slams ever. Coming in at number 5, I have to give it to Sarah Kaufman when she fought Roxanne Modafferi at Strikeforce Challengers back in 2010. She was in Roxanne's guard. Roxanne put her legs around her back and grabbed Sarah's arm like if she was going to go for an armbar. As this was happening, Sarah, who was on her knees, stood up and in one swift motion, slammed her down hard. The back of her head hit the canvas. Roxanne was out instantly. I'm surprised this move is not banned, because if you think about it, punches to the back of the head are not allowed. Yet slamming someone down full force like that is way more damaging. Tell me in the comments if you think this move should be banned. This KO was reminiscent of another slam KO coming up on the list. At number 4, it goes to Jessica Andrade when she fought Rose Namajunas at UFC 237 back in 2019. Andrade had Rose up against a cage. She was trying to go for a takedown around the waist. Rose was sprawling her legs not to be taken down. As a way to mount some offense, Rose went for a standing Kimura on her arm. Andrade, out of nowhere, went for single leg, lifted her up as if she was nothing, and slammed Rose down hard to the side of her head. Rose landed right on her temple. She was out instantly. What an aggressive way to win the title. Rose made the mistake of not letting go when she was being picked up in order to stop the momentum. This slam KO and the previous one could have easily been avoided by the fighters if only they had let go of their submission attempts. Coaches teach you that you need to let go in order to avoid getting KO'd, but I guess it happened so fast they didn't realize what was happening. At number 3, Kevin Randleman versus Fedor Emelianenko at Pride. Alright, this one had to be on the list, even though it didn't result in a KO. Anyone who saw this live or in person must have been in shock and awe. I'm sure when Fedor landed, people were thinking if he was ever going to be able to walk again. This is how it played out. Randleman was on top of Fedor in half guard position. Fedor went for one of his signature moves where he has a burst of energy to power through in order to get back up to his feet. In doing so, he gave up his back, but successfully got back on his feet. Kevin, having his back, out of nowhere did a suplex. He sent Fedor flying through the air like if he was a ragdoll. Fedor is so lucky that he didn't land on his head directly, especially not the top of his head, or he would not have been the same person again. The way he landed was on his upper back, which dispersed the slam and absorbed the force. It enabled Fedor not to get KO'd. They continued fighting, and Fedor would go on to actually win. He won by Kimura a minute later. It is worth noting that the Kimura is usually only successful when a fighter is strong, since it isn't a submission above finesse, but brute strength. Don't let Fedor's physique fool you, he was a very strong guy. At number 2, we have Matt Hughes versus Carlos Newton at UFC 42. The way this played out was directly from something you would see in a movie. Hughes was in Newton's guard throwing punches. Newton tried to get him in a triangle choke. Hughes realized that, so he stood up while picking Newton up off the ground. Wow, he must have been so strong to be able to do that. As he did that, Newton held on and used his hand to pull on his foot to sink in the triangle choke. Hughes walked with Newton, carrying him all the way to the cage. He tried to slam him, but Newton used his arm to grab the cage, allowing him not to be taken down and to stay on the feet, and also sink in the triangle choke deeper. Hughes went out on his feet, thereby also slamming Newton. Newton's back of the head hit the canvas and was out like a light. Hughes, now free from the choke, didn't know what happened. He clearly asked his corner what happened. They told him he won. He clapped and celebrated by climbing on the cage. The fight could technically have been ruled a no contest, but Hughes wasn't out cold, and he came to his senses before Newton. Also, he would have gotten the slam earlier if Newton hadn't cheated by grabbing the cage. And at number 1, it has to go to Quentin Rampage Jackson when he fought Ricardo Arona at Pride in 2004. Quinton was in his guard. Arona tried to put him in a triangle choke, but it wasn't in deep. Quinton's defense to that was to pick him up in one swoop motion. He stood all the way up with him and delivered the slam of the century. With the kind of power he slammed him with, it reminds me of anime. When they slam someone to the ground, they create a large crater. Of course, Arona was out cold. Quinton landed 2 more shots and the fight was over. Quinton has said that the reason he was so aggressive with it is he was in a hurry to finish the fight, since Arona kept upkicking him to the head. Arona had dislocated his jaw, so he was mad. Quinton, to avoid the upkicks, he kept going low to fall on top of Arona, and Arona kept telling the referee that Quinton was out. The slam was a move out of frustration from Quinton. Anyways, that sums up my list. Tell me in the comments below if you agree with my list. Is there anyone you feel was left out? I will reply to all your comments. If you like the content, like and subscribe. Thanks.